Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Al24 Midnight News coming to you live from the capital, Algiers. And these are tonight's top stories. As the Qatari Foreign Ministry confirms the extension for 2 additional days that was carried out under the same previous conditions, pictures of the released prisoners held by Qassam brigades undermine the occupation's claims and narratives of the Western media. More than 50,000 martyrs were left behind by the Zionist war of genocide on Gaza Strip and demands for urgent restoration of the Strip's hospitals. The occupation admits that more than 1,000 soldiers and officers were injured since October 7. On International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune renews Algeria's firm commitment to supporting the legitimate struggle of the Palestinians and their just cause, stressing that occupation has failed to extinguish the flame of struggle in the heart of the Palestinians. We start our news bulletin with the latest coming now from the Palestinian lands, from Jenin. Particularly, Zionist forces have stormed the Palestinian city of Jenin in the northern West Bank. Occupation forces entered the city from several points and besieged the Jenin camp and raided several neighborhoods. Palestinian news agency said occupation forces arrested 2 young men from inside a vehicle in Jenin. The Qatari Foreign Ministry of Affairs announced the success of exchange of prisoners and detainees between the Zionist entity and Hamas movement on the 5th day of humanitarian truce in Gaza Strip, expressing its hope of reaching a permanent ceasefire. Ministry spokesperson stated that 30 Palestinian civilians were released, including 15 minors and 15 women, in exchange for a release of 10 Zionist detainees in Gaza. Also, Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari said that extension of a truce in Gaza Strip for 2 additional days will be carried out under the same conditions as before. Al-Ansari, in a press conference on Tuesday, indicated that the total number of those released in the 4 days through the truce agreement from the Zionist prisoners reached 150 Palestinians, while 69 detainees who were released in Gaza, adding that work is currently underway to strengthen the role of mediation.
Regarding what we will be working on, يوم أمس الإعلان عن تمديد الهدنة الإنسانية.
It was announced on Monday that the humanitarian truce in the Gaza Strip will be extended for 2 more days. It will of course include the same conditions that were set in the original truce, with the agreement that at least 10 hostages will be released per day. It has been confirmed that 20 hostages will be released between today and tomorrow. There is no doubt that within these 48 hours, there will be active action in order to extend this truce. This is of course mainly related to Hamas' confirmation of the possibility of releasing more hostages.
أو تأكيدها لإمكانية الإفراج عن عدد أكبر من الرهائن.
Also, the Qatari official called for an additional international pressure to deliver more aid into Gaza Strip.
بالنسبة للمساعدات ودخولها إلى شمال غزة.
With regard to aid and its entry into northern Gaza, of course, we very much support full international pressure to bring this aid to the entire Gaza Strip, including northern Gaza. There is an increase in the percentage of aid that has entered the Gaza Strip. There is no doubt that the aid during this truce does not live up to expectations and does not live up to what it should be during this period. The state of Qatar is of course working to support the implementation of the agreement by ensuring the entry of greater aid. There are logistical challenges. There are challenges on the ground and there are challenges in obtaining the consent of the parties. But work continues in this regard.
ولكن العمل مستمر في هذا.
Al-Qassam Brigade has announced that its fighters engaged in field clashes with occupation forces in northern Gaza Strip after the occupation violated the truce. A statement by Al-Qassam Brigade said that clashes took place in northern Gaza as a result of a clear violation by the enemy of the truce agreement. The statement added that Al-Qassam Brigade is committed to the pause as long as the enemy commits to it, as he put it. With each freed group of Zionists and foreign hostages, the Zionist narrative sinks and Western media gets exposed for promoting the occupiers' atrocities. More in this report.
In a letter to Hamas fighters, a freed Zionist prisoner conveyed her sincere gratitude to the movement's members of their treatment of her 5-year-old daughter during the 49-day captivity in the besieged Gaza. The emotional letter represented yet another direct blow to Zionist propaganda and a victory to Hamas in face of Zionist false narrative, which portrays Al-Qassam members and Palestinian factions as monsters.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your extraordinary humanity shown towards my daughter Emilia. She acknowledges feeling like all of you are her friends, not just friends, but truly beloved and good. In the long journey we've been on, we've not met anyone who's not been kind to her. You've treated her with kindness and compassion. I'll remember your kind behavior shown in spite of the difficult situation you faced and the severe losses you suffered here in Gaza.
The Zionist narrative fades with every group of foreign and Zionist hostages freed. Western media, on the other hand, has embarrassed itself in front of the public by promoting the lies of the Zionist occupation and is progressively lessening its provocation against Hamas. Not only the hostages, who confirmed Western and Zionist fallacies and disinformation against Hamas, but even their doctors confirmed that their people were safe and sound after each prisoner's exchange, not to mention that also pets were well treated by the resistance during their captivity.
We can say at this point that all our children and mothers are in a stable medical condition, and we will further on continue with medical evaluation.
Ultimately, nothing was able to tarnish the actions of the Palestinian resistance, which exposed to the world the falsity of the Zionist narrative and allowed the world to witness an open genocide in Gaza that claimed over 1,500 lives, including over 600 children.
The government media office in Gaza affirmed that 800,000 Palestinians are still living in North Gaza Governorate, indicating that they are living in harsh conditions never experienced before. Palestinians who refuse to leave to the southward despite the harsh situation demonstrate their great attachment to the lands.
والله ما احنا رحليين لو هنموت مش رحليين خلوهم يعملوا فينا اكتر من كده صابرين.
In a nearly destructed city, Palestinians chose to stay. Israel has left half of northern Gaza's buildings wrecked, and yet these families didn't flee southwards. all the brutal Zionist methods didn't work. The Palestinians' secret is their steadfastness and patriotic spirit that is thwarting the occupiers' plan to displace people to the south. In the Gaza Strip, about 800,000 residents live a harsh life according to the government media office in Gaza. They suffer notably from a severe shortage of water, food and medicine in light of the complete absence of the UNRWA.
There are still about 800,000 citizens of our great Palestinian sons in Gaza and North Gaza who live a hard life that they have never witnessed before. They are particularly suffering from a severe lack of food, medicine and basic life necessities and the complete absence of UNRWA.
Taking advantage of the temporary truce and resisting the occupation's labeling of their city as a war zone, these Palestinians wander among the ruins, seeking memories of their lives here before the Zionist onslaught.
I didn't come here to pick my belonging. I came here because I won't leave the city, and God willing, we will not leave it. We will stay here, and it will be populated.
We are trying to recover some memories of some of my children, my books, my life.
The number of people returning to the northern Gaza Strip is rising, despite their certainty that they will not find their families and their cities as they left them, and despite their certainty that Gaza lacks all basic necessities of life, with the occupation insisting on preventing aid to reach them.
According to reports by Zionist media, the Zionist occupation army acknowledged that since the beginning of the war in Gaza, 1,000 troops from the Zionist forces had been injured, including 102 who were badly wounded. It further proven that the occupation forces had lost 72 people, including soldiers and officers, during the fights with the resistance brigades in Gaza. The military wing of Hamas movement Al-Qassam brigades had often declared that resistance was causing the occupation significantly more losses than its army was announcing. Three Palestinians were martyred on Tuesday, including a child, while others were injured with the Zionist bullets in various areas of occupied West Bank, amid raids on cities and towns and widespread arrest of young Palestinians coinciding with the extension of truce in Gaza. The child, Amir Ahmed Jamil Wahdan, and the two young men, Malik Majid Abdel Fattah and Yassin Abdullah Al-Asmar, were martyred and brutally killed by occupation forces storming in Ramallah and Tubas. The Turkish presidency has announced that a previously scheduled visit of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi to Ankara on Tuesday has been cancelled. The visit had been announced earlier this month by Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. The Turkish presidency added that Turkish president spoke by phone with Iranian counterpart early on Sunday. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirmed Algeria's firm commitment to supporting the legitimate struggle of Palestinian people and their just cause in order to regain all their inalienable rights, most importantly, the establishment of the independent state on the borders of June 4, 1967, with Al-Quds as its capital. A statement by the Algerian presidency explains that President Tebboune sent a message on the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people.
We reiterate Algeria's firm commitment to supporting the legitimate struggle of the Palestinian people and their just cause in order to recover all their inalienable and non-negotiable rights, for most of which their right to establish an independent Palestinian state on the borders of June 4, 1967, with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. We extend our highest regards to this steadfast people, despite all the horrific violations they are subjected to, and the desperate attempts to obliterate their cause.
President Abdelmajid Tebboune also affirmed that the Zionist occupation is trying by committing a genocide to grab the rights of the Palestinian people in light of the serious failure of international community and United Nations to stop the insane war machine being directed on defenseless people.
All of this is happening at a time when the international community and the competent bodies of the United Nations are failing in a shameful and dangerous manner to stop the insane war machine which targets defenseless people, thus putting on our shoulder, we the advocates of just peace, the responsibility to make further efforts and work to uphold the principles and goals of the UN Charter, provide the necessary protection for the Palestinian people, and put an end to the historical injustice committed against them.
Also, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune stressed in his message on the occasion of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people that saving the peace process will only be possible by compelling the occupation to abide by the decisions of international legitimacy and commit to respecting the rules of international law.
We must take immediate and urgent action in order to save the peace process, which is witnessing an unprecedented stalemate. This will only be possible by compelling the occupation to abide by international legitimacy resolutions, commit to respecting the rules of international law, and move forward in consolidating the legal and diplomatic gains of the Palestinian people, especially by intensifying efforts to enable Palestine to obtain full membership in the United Nations.
Also, Mr. President Tebboune renewed Algeria's rejection of all attempts to liberate the Palestinian cause through the Zionist policy of fait accompli.
I reiterate Algeria's complete rejection of all attempts aimed at obliterating this just cause, whether by imposing a fait accompli policy through which the occupation seeks to undermine the identity of the Islamic and Christian sanctities in the occupied territories, or changing its demographic composition through its settlement policies, or attempts to ignore the fact of history and legitimacy through fictitious deals that will not change anything in the crux of the issue.
Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune has terminated the duties of the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Abdelhafid Hani, according to a statement by the Algerian presidency. The same source added that after consulting Prime Minister Nadel Arabawi, President Tebboune appointed Youssef Sharaf as the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development and appointed Mohammed Lahbib as Minister of Transport. Also, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune received on Tuesday the new Secretary General of the National Liberation Front Party, Abdelkarim Ben Mubarak, according to a statement by the Algerian presidency. The same source explains that the meeting came at the request of Secretary General of the party.
We discussed all the current local and international matters. Our program is in line with the program of the President of the Republic. This is why we support this program with all our strength, as it is a program that encourages the youth, and the President gave personally a great importance to young men and young women.
French lawyer and human rights activist Jules Dever has arrived to the Algerian capital Algiers tonight, where he will take part in a conference entitled Justice for the Palestinian People, which is scheduled to take place on Thursday here in Algiers. The conference aims to develop a legal strategy that deals with the violations and crimes of the Zionist occupation state in Palestine in a way that ensures the entity is prosecuted before international court.
Je pense que le premier message y sera pour les Palestiniens.
I think that the first message will be for the Palestinians who feel that they have been abandoned, given the despair that they are living in, because we are talking about 15,000 Palestinians who have been killed. And we should also speak about the 2.3 million of victims in Gaza. It is impossible to live in what they are going through. Everyone has been affected. Houses are being destroyed. People are forcibly displaced. The mass destruction of entire cities, such as Beit Hanun, where people were told that they would never go back there. So we tell these people that the team is ready to defend your rights. We have also said before the International Criminal Court that these people have no army, but they can now rely on an army of lawyers to defend them.
Ce peuple qui n'a pas d'armée, c'est qu'il peut maintenant compter sur une armée d'avocats. Et les avocats vont faire leur travail.
Upon his arrival, the lawyer Gilles Deva has said that a team of lawyers has been mobilized to defend the rights of the Palestinian people who are facing a fierce aggression from the Zionist forces.
Moi, je viens ici à Alger également, j'allais dire pour prendre le bon air.
I have come to Algiers to get positive vibes, to revitalize myself, because in Europe there is a bad trend on this issue with some states which forget completely about their history and which remain attached to some colonialist lobbies and which believe in the idea that a double standard is good to rule the world. So we are here with friends, and I would like to feel the power coming from Africa, from the Maghreb, and the power coming from Algeria in particular, to say that we will progressively reverse things, and that we will no longer allow the dimension where a Western could value more than an Arab. This is unacceptable.
Cette dimension où un occidental peut valoir plus qu'un arabe. Ça, c'est pas acceptable.
The Chief of Staff of Algerian Army, Major General Saïd Changriha, participated in the work of the extraordinary session of Council of Chiefs of Staff of the member countries of the Joint Operations Staff Committee, according to a statement by the Algerian Ministry of Defense. The same source added that the Major General Changriha expressed his thanks to his counterparts and heads of participating delegation for accepting the invitation, highlighting the great interest that Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune attaches to the work of this session and the work of the committee.
أجدد التزامي وتصميم الجيش الوطني الشعبي.
I renew the commitment and determination of the People's National Army to persevere in the fight against terrorism and related crimes without respite, and to coordinate its efforts with its partners in the security cooperation mechanism, especially when it comes to unifying our efforts and coordinating our interventions, each in its own capacity, in its area of responsibility, with the possibility of supporting each other according to available means, in order to protect our geopolitical area and enhance the national security of our countries.
وتعزيز الأمن الوطني لبلداننا.
The National Secretary of Polisario has praised the position of African Union and its steadfastness defense of its founding principles, which the occupying state and its allies are trying to circumvent. A delegation from the ruling African National Congress Party in South Africa embarked on a visit to Sahrawi refugee camps to learn about the reality of the Sahrawi people and support them, and to examine the functioning of the institutions of the Sahrawi Arab Republic and the Polisario Front, according to the Sahrawi News Agency. Moving on now to the conflict in Ukraine, where NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg urged members of the alliance on Tuesday to continue supporting Ukraine. Stoltenberg's call comes as both the United States and European Union struggle to agree on further military aid. Concerns have increased over the future of Western backing for Ukraine, as Kiev's top general has admitted that the fierce fighting has reached what he described as stalemate.
It's our obligation to ensure that we provide Ukraine with the weapons they need, because it will be a tragedy for Ukrainians if President Putin wins, but it will also be dangerous for us.
In the same line of thought, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that NATO ministers would be strongly reaffirming their support for Ukraine. Let's take a listen.
We will be strongly reaffirming our support for Ukraine as it continues to face Russia's war of aggression. We will be looking to the summit next year in Washington to celebrate the 75th anniversary of NATO, but not just celebrate that anniversary, continue to carry the alliance forward, including with the commitments that its members are making to our collective defense.
In this second edition, the Targa Algeria Marathon began from Bab, Sudan in Timimoun, southern Algeria, featuring the spirited participation of over 100 local international male and female runners. The challenging 180-kilometer route navigated through the the picturesque municipalities of Timimun and Ouled Said in the Algerian desert, encompassing 3 stages of varying distances. To this end, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking part with us in this late hour. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And for now, good night.